jobs. Kenitra and I have been talking about this. Kansas Athletics has cut its workforce by 8 to 10% to save $3 million. It's all part of revenue sharing. All right, Will, Kim, audience. So this was announced Tuesday by the
Okay.
athletic director, Travis Goff. It began with a hiring freeze at the start of last fall, continuing by offering its employees voluntary separations in January, and most recently undergoing a quote involuntary targeted reduction end quote or layoffs. KU Athletics has cut down its number of employees by 8 to 10%. Goff emphasized in an interview that this comes at an unprecedented time during which college athletic programs are dealing with a quote combination of frankly a financial model that across the country is not very viable one with the intersection of NIL and then the House settlement too. I'm really proud of how we've managed this dynamic this year. And then lastly, he said, I believe is many places across the country are doing similar type of work. And I'll be honest with you, those that aren't ought to be, because this is not unique to KU in this environment by any stretch of the imagination. I'm proud that we're taking responsibility and actively and strategically managing it, end quote. Goff said that the reduction of 30 employees will save the department approximately $3 million. Thoughts on that from the shiny ivory tower of the Ohio State University, sir?
Why? Well, I knew that was coming. I knew that was coming. Yeah. I, if it's not happening, it should be. We don't see it that way up here. Um, I understand why it's happening there. I understand it will be happening probably in many, many, many more places around the country. Um, Ohio State did do some proactive things. They haven't reduced staffing as of yet, and nor do I think that will be an option. But monies are being allocated differently. I will say that.
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure, for sure. You know, check writers are beginning to ask a few more questions as to where's my 300,000 going, and is that the best use of my $300,000? So those questions are being asked, but I don't know that. Um, there have been some creative revenue streams created to kind of combat any issues that could occur, but as far as elimination of roles or anything, that has not happened here.
KD, thank you for sharing the show link. I see Mike chiming in. Mike, I haven't seen that name in a long time. Props to you, Mike. Good to see you. Kansas needs to blame their NCAA people. It's their fault for never addressing it to begin with. They waited on the NCAA to make a decision, and the NCAA passed the buck multiple times. Kanitra, you have ties to KU athletics. Your thoughts on the reduction and what Will stated as well?
Well, it also has to do with the new stadium. Yeah.
Yes.
So when you spend an entire football season playing no games in Lawrence, Kansas, you played two non-conference games in Kansas City, Kansas, essentially 45 minutes from campus. And then you played all of your conference home games in the state of Missouri in Arrowhead Stadium. So you did not have that revenue stream in the local economy or in campus. So like there's a lot of money you did not make this year. Plus they didn't make a bowl game either. So, and while the renovations at the booth are on schedule, there are different phases that are envisioned. Right now, there's not enough money to complete those visions. Conference center, hotel, housing, parking. Yeah. So like you're trying to, save money. You're trying to ask for more money. You're trying to be responsible financial stewards of your investors' uh, money. And, you know, across campus, you have associate head coach Norm Roberts, who decides to retire from basketball. You bring in Jacques Vaughn to replace him. So there's, you know,
KP, this question for you, and then I got one more slide for discussion. Could cuts across the board have saved positions?
I don't know, because again, I haven't been as closely aligned with KU over the past year. Of the 30 positions that were eliminated, I only personally know of one, the social media coordinator for men's basketball. So I don't know exactly, what else could have been done to save those positions, because also by now we expected the health settlement to be announced. Like, that was supposed to have been done months ago. We're still waiting on that, just to see, okay, how much money is there going to be for revenue sharing for these student, Chris, assets.
Thank you.
So, we're waiting to see on that.
Yep, It was the week of April 7th initially for Judge Wilkin to make a decision and announcement, and now we're almost with the last week of May.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe she might make a ruling this week. We'll see. But next, school made a decision. OU decided to lay off 5% of their staff due to looming revenue sharing. They confirmed to the OU Daily, late Thursday, what athletic departments learned via mass email on Wednesday. The university is laying off employees due to the looming realities of starting to share revenue with athletes. According to the email, which was shared with the Daily by an equipment manager, athletic director Joe Castiglione wrote that OU has reached a critical moment that requires the department to restructure its staff functions, resulting in a limited reduction in force, quote unquote. Mike Hauk, an associate AD, wrote Thursday in an email to OU Daily that 5% of 302 full-time non-student department employees would be cut. That equates to approximately 15 positions and follows what Hauk described as significant cost cutting over the past 9 months. On February 19th, Castiglione wrote in a public letter to fans saying that OU planned to share the maximum allowed annual revenue of $20.5 million starting, that'll be this coming year. It's going to go up 3%, starting July 1st, following the quote unquote expected approval of House versus NCAA, an ongoing $2.8 billion class action lawsuit settlement that would enable universities to pay athletes a portion of their media revenues. According to the letter, OU plans to use the $20.5 million to reallocate existing funds and evaluate future ticket pricing and premium offerings across all sports. Castiglione said that there would be new parameters for name, image, and likeness after July 1, and that providing financial support would be the university's primary competitive edge in recruiting and maintaining student assets. Thoughts on OU laying off some folks?
I mean, I think it's just the same thing, right? It's first the NCAA going kicking and screaming into sharing revenue with the student athletes, or as you call them, student assets rather, right? The ones who said we better get on board and figure it out, and the ones who were like, no, we're not doing that. We deserve all the money. You're getting an education. I think that's part of it. I also think that it's still kind of the wild, wild west, because because they didn't really embrace it before they were forced to do it. There was no real plan of how it would be managed and rolled out. And now they're trying to figure it out on the back end. So like Mike says, it's kind of the NCAA's fault for, just their arrogance and the greed that they've had so long. And the schools that handled it head on up front are, faring a little bit better. But this is a real thing now, and they're going to have to figure it out. Could coaches get less money? I don't know.
They could, but they won't.
Right? That's where you can really save some money. And because if you start talking about the cuts in the departments, I mean, some schools are better staffed than others, but Kanisha mentioned the person that did social media for the basketball team. Those positions are kind of important for what it does, in terms of their messaging and talking about the players. And I think it's just the chickens coming home to roost, and how they're handling it will be really interesting.
And then I also think it's also not just roster management. If everyone, once this all goes through, all the players have to be on scholarship. But also, let's look at the staffs. Yeah. Do you need 8 analysts on a football staff, in addition to all of the position coaches and coordinators? Do you need, and same thing with other sports, special advisor to the head? What exactly is that?
Right.
That's alumni that's coming back. I'm sorry, didn't say that. I didn't mean. I mean, I've heard. Yeah. I've heard.
People say.
Yes.
Sources
say.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think there's a way to streamline if they're serious about, like, hey, you got to trim the fat.
Yeah.
Maybe look at the construction of the coaching staffs.
KP, let me see if I can go
back to football. Those staffs are huge.
Oh, I got one that'll blow your mind in a second. With KP, could Jock Vaughn here being back at Kansas, is he the heir apparent to Bill Self?
I mean, could be. I mean, that one thing that's unique about Kansas is they've just had so few head coaches in program history. He's one of theirs. He comes back. He has NBA experience, so that is very valuable. If you've seen like kind of what athletic departments are doing now, they're bringing in those with professional experience to kind of prepare the current players to become professional athletes. So, Jock knows what it means to be a head coach in the NBA. I mean, and most of these players, that's their dream. They want to go pro. And then, yes, Bill Self has a lifetime contract, but, we saw what happened a year ago, 2 years ago, with the heart issue